The Flash, #2, written by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato, art by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato. We last left off with Barry chasing after his friend Manuel and turning into the Flash, and then stumbling across Manuel being accosted by a couple dozen clones of himself. So, yeah, I'll pick up here. And by the way, it's going to get really confusing with clones and stuff, so I'm just going to skip ahead and say the clones as a whole are called Mob Rule, and Manuel is just Manuel. So, we start off with Barry saying, like, all right, you got 3 seconds to let go of Manuel. And Mob Rule's like, oh yeah? Okay, what are you going to do? And he counts to 3 and just starts wrecking everybody with their own weapons, just beating them up, taking them out. And Mob Rule's like, oh, okay, that was fast. But you still can't be everywhere at the same time. Because we got Barry Allen's lady friend, Iris West, hostage, and we're not going to tell you where she is. Here's a phone. It'll ring once we're nice and far away, but you have to stay right here. Count to 1,000. Super slow, like. So they make their escape with Manuel. Flash is forced to stand there because he can't let Iris, or I guess a hostage in general, but Manuel's a hostage, so no, just Iris, die. And then phone rings. As soon as he gets her location, he's there, he's checking on her. He's like, you okay? You good? She's like, yeah. He's like, cool, I got to take care of some stuff, bye. So he runs off and talks to Dr. Elias, and he's like, hey, so I just need to know a bit more about, like, the limit of my powers here, because I feel like, you know, I could be better. So Dr. Elias runs a test on him. He has Barry run on a treadmill, and the treadmill just explodes. But he gets some good brain scans and stuff like that, and he basically tells Barry that the Speed Force, which is Barry's term, Barry came up with it, the Speed Force is affecting Barry's body, but not his brain. He still can't perceive as fast as he can. So he's stuck being just a little bit slower so that he's able to, you know, not run into people at Mach 5 billion. So he needs to be able to let the Speed Force up into his brain and perceive the world faster. Barry's thinking about that up on a rooftop. Patty Spivak comes up and he's like, hey, so that body that was thrown through the plate glass window, like, it had a bunch of scratches and stuff when we picked them up, but they all healed. They have rapid cell regeneration, which theoretically could be used to clone entire bodies, aka the entire plot of our thing. So as Patty's going over this whole thing and saying how Manuel had, like, an intelligence background and there were some missing files, blah, 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 Barry's zoning out because he is starting to perceive, like, everything. He has, like, a spider sense moment from, like, the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man where he's just everything around him in super slow motion. And he's like, okay, all right, so this is happening. Patty's like, hello, are you listening to me? He's like, yeah, no, totally, but I got to go talk to Iris West, bye. Which, of course, she takes well. He goes and talks to Iris, basically saying, like, what do you know about Manuel? You got to give me some information here. He's like, well, sure, but first you give me information on the Flash. He's like, damn it, Iris, just give me the information. And then as she's talking to him, he does it again. He zones out. But this time he sees that there's going to be a robbery taking place. And he sets up this, like, Rube Goldberg sort of thing where he works through all the possibilities of, like, okay, this could happen, and then this could happen, and this could happen. And then he sets up this whole thing so that he doesn't even really have to interfere at all. It's just he lets things play out as cause and effect would happen. So he sets it up, and meanwhile, this whole time, Iris is talking about the history of Manuel. It's like, he didn't start out a bad apple, deep cover operative for the CIA, and then he was officially, quote, killed in action 16 months ago, but he got an unofficial copy of his passport, and she passes it off to Flash. And then they start talking about how they dated once, and how Iris kind of wants him to ask her out again. So there's, you know, some personal stuff, but they don't sit on that at all, because Iris has apparently got a interview with the most dangerous inmate at Iron Heights Prison, whoever that may be. And again, this whole time we see the Rube Goldberg working out and how the robber was foiled and how his getaway car is all tied up by a tow truck. So anyway, Flash takes the passport. He goes to everywhere in the passport looking for any sort of information. We get a flashback to how they were good friends and how he went off to do his own thing after they grew up. He gets to a pig farm, and he manages to remember something about how Manuel said that the whole place stinks of pigs. So this is definitely a place where Manuel was. But then we see that in the flashback, as Manuel's on the phone with Manuel, or as Manuel's on the phone with Barry, how he's kidnapped by the clones again, and the clones are like, okay, well, we're all dying here. We're all literally falling apart, and you're the solution to our problem. And then everything all happens at once, where there's the interview at the Iron Heights, them getting some stuff in the investigation at the police center. Dr. Elias is seeing something on Barry's brain scans. And then all at once, a button is pushed by Mob Rule. And as far as I can tell, an EMP goes off above Central City. And everything just goes black. And there's one panel of Iris being taken hostage, or being kidnapped, I should say, at Iron Heights. But the main thing that we end on is a plane is literally falling out of the sky, and Barry is just looking up at it like, ah, hell. And that's where we leave. I like this issue. I very much do. I think it adds a nice little bit to the Flash, though this definitely feels more like a year one sort of story than it does 5 years in, as it's supposed to be. So, I don't know. It's a little bit weird in that regard. But overall, I think they're doing a good job setting up Manuel. The flashbacks do a good job of, like, you know, they were buddies, they were friends, they grew up together more or less. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about Iris at this point, because she's got the Lois Lane thing going on, but she's also not any, like, it doesn't seem like Barry likes her at all, which is fine, but Iris definitely is into him. So I just hope they don't do some weird, like, soap opera love triangle with the two of them and Patty. I don't know. That's the only thing that I'm worried about. Overall, art fantastic, writing fantastic. It does a great job at, like, Francis Manapul does a great job at, when it comes down to the Flash, like, vision, the Speed Force thinking, does a fantastic job at getting that across of what exactly he's thinking through at light speed. It's a fantastic job. It's a masterclass. Overall, I'm going to give this an 8. It's extremely well done. I would highly suggest reading it. If I had any qualm with it at all, it's that they're very much spoon feeding, or drip feeding, I should say, in that I still don't feel like we've gotten enough to make any sort of thing of like, okay, what exactly is happening with Manuel? But I'm sure that's going to happen over the next 6 issues. So no big rush. Very much looking forward to issue 3.